What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me, have some more RPG horror stories. You know, I really do like what we got going on here. Like, we get to hang out, vibe, and chill and chillax, and just hang out and just read some RPG horror stories. But it's always good to remember to always take breaks. I mean, at the end of the day, these stories are an exception and not the rule, but the more of negativity you read about, the more it does get drained on you. And I understand everybody has the limits. So if you ever need to take a break from the channel or RPG horror stories, I don't mind it. I will never blame you, but we'll always welcome you back anytime. Anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories taken care of for today. Am I the a-hole, criticizing my player for not reading their own backstory? Some context. I've been DMing for 5 years, but I had only been DM for a group of friends. All of our campaign ended up being cancelled over scheduling conflicts. I've been eager to DM a campaign that goes on till the end, to actually finish a campaign. For that reason, I went to the D&D Beyond Discord and recruited some players for a campaign that I spent the past few months writing up. The campaign is run completely online over Discord and Roll20. I had previously posted here for advice on DMing for people I'm not familiar with, and the two most common pieces of advice were running a good session 0 and having one-on-ones with players to talk about their characters, so I went on to do exactly that. I ran session 0 outlining the campaign, some house rules, and most importantly, that I'd like players to have a good backstories. I said that I want to see character develop and meaningful character arcs. To accompany this, I'd mentioned that a lot of the kingdoms and set campaigns have been purposely laid out with general frameworks so that players' backstories can add to them. An example is one of my players adding that a kingdom, which I planned to be inspired by Japanese culture, added that maybe they view tieflings in the same way that Oni are depicted. I loved it and it fit perfectly. For this to work out the best as it could, I told everyone that I would be scheduling to have a one-on-one with them in order to talk more about their characters and flesh out their backstories. Cut to the player that I ended up having the issue with. He sent in his backstory and let me know that he had AI write it. I know that some people would be very against it, but personally, I wasn't until now. I had the impression that he had an idea for a backstory, but just used AI to write it out for clarity. With that being my understanding, I told him that I'm perfectly fine with it as long as he understood the backstory himself as well. We scheduled one-on-ones, which ended up being pretty late for me, about 11:30 p.m. my time. Oh no, no. Please don't tell me the player was just like, hey ChatGPT, write me a backstory for my character. His name is Bartholomew, and he wants to be a wizard of the West, or whatever. And then ChatGPT just came up with some nonsensical things. Like, on one hand, yeah, you can have ChatGPT write at least like a framework for a good backstory, but like, you gotta give it at least, I don't know, some sort of bulletin points. I talked about it before. Basically, when it comes to AI, if you give it a bad input, it will give you a bad output. If you give it a dumb input, it will give you a dumb output. If you give it something substantial to work with, it will give you a fight slob that you could probably edit down to make it really your own. And that's a good start to at least like a framework, at least a start. I understand some people have the writer's block, and I feel like using AI to at least come up with inspirations, not necessarily copy-paste ideas, could be a good start to some capacity, you know? But not if you just ask ChatGPT to just like, hey, write me a backstory. Copy-paste? Didn't even read? Let's go. That's not okay. 30 minutes before our one-on-one, he sent me a message saying he wouldn't be able to answer questions about his backstory because he hadn't read it. I was a bit taken aback by this. I responded saying that the entire point of one-on-one is talking about the backstory, so he needs to read it. I told him we could delay one-on-one for the same time the next day. He said that if I want him to be able to answer the questions, he needs to know what the questions will be. I said there are more topics of discussion, which is why it's easy to do it in a call. But I sent him the questions anyway. I wonder if he asked ChatGPT to answer these questions as well. I bet you he did. He responds with mostly not useful answers, which I expected because it's easy to talk about them in call. One thing in particular that annoyed me was a question in regard to something stated to his backstory. His backstory talks about one of the kingdoms having some sort of a virus causing decay, which is what this character set off to do first. When I asked about it, he didn't even know what I was talking about. I rephrased and used the word plagued because that's how his backstory describes it. He still didn't know what I was referring to. At this point, I was just annoyed. I feel like he just didn't care about his own backstory. Like, he wasn't engaged with his character at all. So I sent him a screenshot of his own backstory that talked about what I was referring to, and he said, like I said, I'm fine with the use of AI to write out the backstory, but you should at the bare minimum know what even it is. He responded saying that it was all written by AI, and it was up to me to decide if it was accurate or not because it's my world. I responded, very annoyed and fed up. I said that's what the one-on-ones is for, to talk about what works and what doesn't, what can be implemented and what can't. But when your entire backstory is written by AI and you don't even read it, then how are you even meant to talk about it? He said it just sounded like I wanted to argue because it's my world and I, as a DM, make the choice. Despite I said in session 0 that I'm open for players to add onto the basic framework I had set in the world. He proceeded to say he is dropping out of the campaign, which to be honest, I was a little relieved, because I was contemplating whether I wanted to keep him as a player or not. I'm honestly not sure if I was being unreasonable, so I asked, was I the a-hole? Not at all, are you kidding me? The dude asked AI to write him a backstory, can't even read the damn backstory to check to see if it actually sounds like something they want to even do or not. They're expecting you to fix the stuff that the AI just slopped out for them. What do you mean? If they can't even read their own backstory, or even have a bulletin points of what the backstory is about, they can't answer simplest questions about the backstory because they didn't even, like, okay, one thing, yeah, it's a crime to just have the entire backstory be written by AI. At least have some sort of player input there, at least put some sort of a semblance of thought into it. But then you have the audacity to not even read the slop that AI spit out for you. You just went, okay, perfect, I don't read it, copy, paste, perfect. The DM will be happy with it, hopefully. And then you ask about questions, you can't even answer the stuff about the story, like you can't even read the slop that AI spit out for you. Then why do you even have it there? It probably would have been easier, honestly, to write a 7-word paragraph in a single story, or maybe, I don't know, 2 paragraphs with like 5 sentences each. That probably would have been so much easier, because at least you would know exactly what the character's all about. Maybe even at some point, it probably would have been easier just to say, I'm just a human guy, a fighter with a sword, and I want to swing at things, and just go with that. At least some sort of a simple backstory where you know what's written on there is better than just putting an AI slop, copy pasting into your document, and just not even knowing what the hell the AI even gave you. You're just thinking, well, it should be good enough, that should be fine. What's the DM talking about? They just want to argue for the sake of arguing when you don't even read the stuff that AI spit out for you. Are you kidding me? No, OP, you're not the a-hole. You're fully in your right to find this be unreasonable behavior, and I'm glad you don't have this player to play with. This would have been a nightmare to play through. Let's get to the next story for today. GM surprised and shocked when Dark Heresy players are all pro-Imperium. I managed to get into Dark Heresy 2nd Edition game with a group of new players and a new GM. We set up a Discord server and work out our characters, a ragtag bunch of misfits from all the different kinds of worlds that are unified in their quest to burn the filthy Xeno and all Xeno lovers. Or so we thought that was the plan, because that's how GM described the game. We will make our characters, details are unimportant other than we are 100% loyal to the Imperium, kind of requirement if you want to work for an Inquisitor. GM promised a long campaign, so we got hyped, working our backstories. We sent them to a GM, and soon enough, we're on the first assignment. We're to infiltrate a mansion of nobles that had a reputation of living saints who claimed they used the ordained Holy Bloodline's blessings to heal the disabled, sick, and even mutilated. Our Inquisitor says that surely there's something foul going on, and the priesthood never officially recognized those deeds as miracles, and also Adeptus Mechanicus had detected unusual energy spikes in that area. Other than that, is similar to what the Tau equipment is known for producing. Speaking of the Tau, an Australian friend of mine convinced me that Tau are actually pretty cool. I know that Tau have like a reputation in Warhammer 40k universe to be like the goody two shoes guys and communists and stuff, but when I found out they have mechs and they're basically weebs and they have samurai mechs, immediately fell in love. I think that aesthetic, just the mech aesthetic, is cool as hell. I get it, it's not the grungy Warhammer big like machinery and stuff, but I think that stuff is still pretty cool regardless. Maybe I'm just a weeb, maybe I'm just a Tau in disguise, who knows. On the briefing, we're all nodding along, cursing those fools and saying how they're traitors of humanity. Our team preacher armed with a heavy flamer asks if there's going to be a problem if we execute them all, or if we expected to put them on trial. No, ask no questions, kill them all. All. The adults and children too. We go there. We're going guns blazing, even after GM numerous times said that Noble sent an envoy to invite us for a diplomatic meeting where we discuss things as they really are. We respond by setting down war and fire. We then burst in and shoot all and everybody in the Noble and servants, all whom are non-combatants and just spread their turns begging for mercy. Classic, we say as we continue to commit sanctioned mass murder. Then we go to the basement and see a Tau standing behind the techno-heresy machine. Wait, please, let's talk. The Imperium is lying to you. We didn't wait. One rocket launcher later, Tau is a splatter of gore. We also destroyed their cursed techno-heresy. Then we set the mansion on fire. As we exit the burning mansion, we are met by a crowd of sick and slightly mutilated peasants that protest and call us monsters, saying we doomed them all. We tell them we are the will of the Emperor. The crowd goes on to say how much Imperium sucks. They're all right, and we players agree the Imperium sucks, but our characters didn't. We answer with flame and bullets and chain blades. Well, I mean, you guys signed up to specifically play as the hardcore squad that serves the Imperium, and you're playing out as the hardcore squad that serves the Imperium. I don't know what the gist here. I don't know what the DM expected or GM expected. Maybe they expect you guys to have that, you know, extra morality. I feel like that's something you should be discussed in session 0. Like, what sort of a character campaign is it? Is it gonna be intrigue and mystery, or serving the Emperor blindly and doing whatever the Inquisitor tells you to do because you just gotta be going gung-ho, guns blazing, buns glazing? We report to Inquisitor. GM ends the game. Says we ruined everything by being Imperium glazers and not betraying the Inquisition. He says the entire campaign was supposed to be us siding with Tau and liberating the world after we realized how wicked the Inquisition is. We told we're crappy players and a bunch of murder hobos and call us dogmatic. I'm not saying that. Whatever is that supposed to mean. Not sure why out of all systems to try this kind of thing, he chose one where all players expected to be above average in loyalty, why he never made it clear that his intent was. Lesson of the day: communicate with your players and don't try to pull off a Trojan horse campaign. Especially not like this. Definitely 100% don't do a Trojan horse campaign. Listen, if you want to try to run a campaign where players are playing somebody that's supposed to be questionable and like inquisitive of the Inquisition, supposed to be skeptical of their stuff, you let the players know ahead of time, because instead you're saying we're playing this game where typically the standard is you're supposed to serve the Imperium. So you got a bunch of basically players that make a bunch of Imperium yahoos. Basically they just go ooh, 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 Imperium, Imperium, and just start guns blazing, buns glazing everybody that is even slightly, even remotely percentage of heretical direction. Because what do you expect? You didn't tell the players your expectations for the campaign. That's kind of on you at that situation. If you want to run a particular game, you need to be very clear to the players. Hey, I want to run this kind of campaign, right? Whether it's a heroic adventure or a funny, silly mystery or a sandbox RPG or grim, dark, everything is super gloomy, doomy and stuff. Or if you want to play a game with Dark Heresy where you specifically have players that are made to be questionable and to be skeptical of Inquisition's plans. If you, say for example, told the players you want to have a game where a group of players is skeptical of Inquisition and actually plays against the Inquisition, should have told that to the players so they can build characters that aren't just going to be a bunch of like Inquisition fanboys going absolute ballistic for them, and instead make characters that want to play in this mystery and intrigue and stuff like that where there are skeptics of the Inquisition. That's kind of a new. Otherwise, I think it's just a hilarious story. I just imagine the top players, like, clearly they're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't be with Inquisition, but we're role-playing as these characters that are fully for Inquisition, and they're just going absolutely ballistic. Let's continue with the next story for today. Edgy and mysterious That Guy, without the ability to understand campaign vibe, strikes again. Some time ago, I was part of a D&D group that struggled with consistent players. It was an online D&D game. Only I, the fighter, first-time D&D player, and a veteran cleric were showing up each session. Everybody else coming from 1 or 2 sessions only to never be seen again, with some exceptions, but I digress. Our DM did everything he could to have more consistent players, but basically putting unchecked strangers into our party in almost every session, who were usually leaving after 1 or 2 sessions. Sounds like maybe there was like a problem with the vetting process, or maybe there was too much of a revolving door effect. Listen, I feel like you need to find somebody that not only is going to have a good schedule for the campaign, but also is going to vibe with the campaign. And almost somebody that basically you can check through, be like, hey, is this campaign vibe something you like? Obviously, some things happen. Some people's schedules get busy, sometimes some work-related stuff happens, maybe, I don't know, their cat gets set on fire or something, or they come up with an excuse to just not play in the game because maybe they thought it was going to be one way, but it's not, it's the other way. At the end of the day, however, I feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity to force other strangers to come into the game when you already have a dedicated group of players that are already playing with you. I feel like, in fact, you should probably focus on the small group of players that you can have fun with and have a more focused, juicier, more focused experience with them, instead of constantly have a bunch of strangers come in for a few sessions just to leave, just to come in again, just to leave. Because I feel like you're prioritizing people that are coming in new instead of people that are already there ready to play with you on a regular basis. It's fine to have small groups, and you don't have to have large groups. Sometimes if you have 3 consistent players, that should be more than enough for most DMs, and I feel like you do a lot of that. Hell, give them a DMPC that can walk around and give them, you know, play some sort of support role, or some sort of role that fits and helps the party in some way. A healer, a tank, a ranged DPS, a magical expert or something that can give them some sort of buffs and stuff. You know, stuff like that. However, one of them really stuck in my memory. The DM talked with a new guy on the voice chat, and I joined in to introduce myself. DM told the new guy the team composition and told him the campaign vibe, a combat-heavy desert sandbox campaign. After that, DM had to go, so I was left with the new guy in the voice chat alone. Asked him about what he'll play, and he said, a small elf with the height of a gnome, a mysterious man with a hood with ruby glasses. He never trusts anyone, usually works alone. I was ready to deal with an edgelord in my campaign when he suddenly hit me with and he is a pacifist. I told him that the campaign is combat heavy, but he ignored this, saying something like, I'll work something out. My character just won't be walking around attacking unprovoked. So I just went along, hoping that it only means that his character will try to resolve conflicts in a non-violent way. Then it hit me with another brilliant question. Are there any females in our group? I said no. It was a party of 2 men and a man DM, and he hit me with, great, I hate playing with women. What? 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 I'm laughing because it's just so shocking and absurd. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just shocking. What? That's something you just say out loud like that? Huh? So he's a pacifist edgelord that hates women? He's just a sexist that hates violence, but he somehow is also an edgelord? Wow. That's a new one for sure. I asked him to elaborate, give a reason, and he only responded with vague answers like, you know how females are. They always have some kind of problem. At that moment, I basically went nonverbal, and he proceeded to lore dump me with his character's backstory. Later, I told the DM that the guy is weird, but he asked me to give him a chance. As you can guess, it was a mistake. If the DM decides after you tell him, yeah, this guy is weird, he's an edgelord, he is very self-absorbed, I guess, and he wants to be a pacifist and he hates women, like if the DM says, give him a chance, I feel like you have more of a problem. Less of a problem with an edgelord, but the fact that your DM is allowing this weirdo, this complete weird guy to just get into the game. How desperate is the DM to have new players in this situation if they're letting this guy into the game specifically? The new guy joined the session with halfway finished character sheet on Roll20 and no character picture, not even a Google image stock photo. During the session in a dungeon, we stumbled upon a caged celestial that was very rude to the party, had no intentions of helping or cooperating. The new guy proceeded to use every skill check and every rule possible for 30 minutes trying to talk and interrogate a violent and rude celestial who was openly hostile to the party. The new guy was getting very angry whenever I tried to tell him to knock it off, because the celestial clearly doesn't cooperate, but no, he has to try everything. After some time, he managed to free him, and guess what? A hostile celestial attacked us, almost TPKing the party. And the new guy, a pacifist in combat-heavy campaign, spent the entire fight running away and hiding or investigating things. The new guy proceeded to run away and hide cowardly in every other fight. In social interactions, he wasn't very helpful either, because he never initiated conversations on his own. And he was always so mysterious, talking in short, vague sentences and not trusting everyone. I was constantly trying to get the new guy to do anything, but no, because it's what my character is like. After 3 sessions, Trash took itself out, and he said the campaign was not what he expected. Hopes were intrigues and other stuff because there are factions in a campaign setting. If this is what your character is like, then I don't want to be anywhere around your character. Good lord, the character sounds insufferable. Not only is it getting somebody in trouble in the party, but they also can't even fight in a combat-heavy game. If you want to look for an intrigue game with factions and stuff and be a sexist, I'm sure you can find in some dredges of the universe somebody playing that specific game that fits this guy's specific agenda or preferences. But in this situation, the dude is joining a combat-heavy game and won't even participate in combat. I can't believe what your DM is even doing. To be so desperate that you're gonna let this rando idiot in that won't even participate in combat in a combat heavy sessions. Why? I feel like you have a problem with the DM that basically prioritizes having the new people join in instead of the people he already has. I feel like somebody needs to have a sit down with the DM and say, hey, listen, we already have enough players, but if you want to look for players, maybe find somebody that's not gonna be this guy. Maybe have a very stringent vetting process and stuff. Finding somebody that actually wants to play in the game, find somebody that actually finds the campaign interesting, wants to play in a combat heavy game, that won't be this dude specifically, because the desperation is not going to benefit the campaign. The desperation is going to kill the campaign. It's going to make the campaign entirely worse. I couldn't stand out former problem player, and here is why. For context, this was a week-long Dungeons & Dragons seminar held at my local gaming cafe. It was for experienced and new players alike, so I went with a friend. I ended up making some new friends because of the experience and now play D&D with just them. Our party consisted of me, who played a monk male, rogue female, wizard male, rogue non-binary, and another problem player, ranger female. This was a problem player at our table. I'll be calling her Jess for this story. Jess was a brand new player, so we all cut her slack on things she didn't know yet, and helped her build a character sheet and understand how to play. That wasn't the issue. The issue was how she played. Jess made a wood elf ranger with a tragic backstory. Again, we didn't mind this since it's D&D, we all had a character with a tragic backstory, involving a dead mother and abusive father. The problem was, she said her character had turned to alcoholism to cope with this. It didn't bother anyone at first until we started playing. Jess would constantly say things like, "My character walks into the bar and orders 7 shots. She comes back to the party extremely drunk," or "Is there any alcohol in here?" To which the DM, sick of this behavior, would always say no. She started inventing having alcohol in her inventory, stealing it from NPCs, and saying her character was drunk constantly. I don't think drunk and plastered is a personality choice. I think this is just a destructive behavior archetype. Like, it's a flaw. A character always needs a drink no matter what. What did you put down for the character sheet? I know, like on D&D Beyond and stuff and VTT Foundry, there's usually like a little handy-dandy little ideals, goals, flaws and stuff like that, aspirations or whatever. What did you put down for the aspirations? I aspire to drink my liver to non-existence. My flaw, not enough drinks in the world. My aspiration, to drink some more in the world. My ideal, 77 shots a day. Like, seriously, I don't think that's a personality type to make a character just a drunk and belligerent. If that was all, I would have been annoyed, but moved on. However, she started trying to be the face of our party, even though we already voted our rogue to be the face of our character, since it was a shorter seminar and we wanted to stay on plot. That didn't mean Jess wasn't allowed to roleplay, it just meant that our rogue female was explaining our quest to the NPCs. Jess would interrupt this by talking loudly about her backstory, both in and out of character, and then trying to flirt with said NPCs. She would just generally be a nuisance, trying to flirt with NPCs that we were made to be other player characters' love interests, and even hitting on my monk character, who was not interested in women and expressed that many times, inventing lore for her character on the spot. Well, the village should want to help her since she's a princess, and trying to dictate other people's backstories. We all met in a tavern and you, my monk, were the bartender. This never happened and the DM told her multiple times to stop. To say the least, Jess is very creative. And I mean, I feel like that creativity could definitely go into make me like a DM that can improv on the spot, but not as a player that just basically wants to hog the spotlight. It got to the point that nobody wanted to roleplay with her, and at the end of the seminar, we did not invite her to be part of our next group. I feel slightly bad knowing she was a first-time player, but people in the party, including the DM, spoke up multiple times that they were uncomfortable with her behavior. Edit. In a typical situation, we would have removed this type of problem player, but it was a seminar you had to sign up for, and she was already signed up for our group for the week. Went back to playing privately after this experience. So because she signed up for this seminar and y'all couldn't say no to her, basically you got shackled with the drunk, or pretend drunk. I don't know what's worse, having to be shackled with a drunk or pretend drunk. I feel like maybe Jess has potentially, very potentially, good intentions, but definitely did not go into thinking like, I want to play with other people. They instead came in and be like, I want to be in the light of it all, like come up with everything on the spot. Jess feel like has a good creativity to her. She just doesn't know how to properly use it as a player that can play in other people's games. Maybe she might be good as a DM, but definitely not as a player, especially if she's going to be this disruptive at the table. Unfortunate that it was a seminar, but it is what it is, I guess. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.